Welcome to the channel. My name is Fula Kamara. Today I'm going to go over the Benford's law. Benford law maintains that the number one will be the leading digits in a genuine data set of numbers 30.1% of the time. The numeral 2 will be the leading digit 17.6% of the time. Each subsequent numerical from 3 to 9 will be the leading digit with a decreasing frequency. That is, 3 will be the leading digit, and the next one is 4, the next one is 5, until 9. So that's what Benford law is saying. If the data does not follow the Benford law, it means the data has been manipulated. So we do have exceptions where we cannot use the Benford law. So when there is a discrete data, so in cases where the data is discrete and follow a specific pattern, for example, multiples of 5 or 10s, the distribution of the leading digits may deviate from the Benford law. Then we also have like limited range. If we have just few data, like maybe we have just less than 500 rows of data set, it is very difficult to get a good result using the Benford law. So to get a better result, you can use Benford law on 500 and above, on a data set with 500 and above rows. Then if the data is artificially generated, like when the data has been manipulated, in that case, data will not follow the Benford law. Then you cannot use the non-numerical data. So if we use non-numerical data like text or categorical variables, that data will not follow the Benford law. In practice, so whenever we use the Benford law in audit, we normally use it on financial data, for example, on the GL. Since the COVID cases are in numerical value, we are going to apply the Benford law in this case. Then I also have a GL report, which we are going to use also to apply the Benford law. The data is currently messy, so we might have to do some cleansing here to put this in order so that we can quickly process this data in order for us to get like a better result. But you don't have to do the cleansing. So that's the reason why I'm going to add this link to the file in the description. If you want to go to the source data, you can go to this website, https then you have covid.cdc.gov so you can get the data from that. So that's where I got this data from. You have to do some manipulation like data mining in order for you to get it in Excel. So the data was in CSV file. Okay, so that's how to import. So once you click get data, data, and then click get data, you can choose the source from which the data is coming from. But we can leave that for another tutorial, like in terms of data cleansing. But we do have some basic data cleansing here, which I think might be useful to especially auditors, because this is sometimes how the client might send you some files. So if you don't know how to efficiently walk around, maybe your company has a software that they will have to use to import the data. If you don't format this in that format, how the software will accept this data, meaning it will take you forever. Like you might not be able to import this into your software that you use for your data analysis. That's why I'm going to use some data cleansing tricks that I think will be very helpful to especially those new auditors who might not be experienced enough in Excel, or who might be experienced in using Microsoft Excel, but maybe they don't know about some of these tricks that I normally use. Yeah, you can do the hard way. You are able to like select this, delete, or you can just copy this, you paste it here and copy this and paste, and then delete these blanks. So which is going to take too much time, but I have like a way where you can manipulate this, which will not take you too much time. Even though it's time consuming, data cleansing is time consuming in general. Like whenever we're doing data analytics, when you get the data, in order for you to get it to the format that you like, will normally take more time than even doing the data analysis itself. So that's the reason why knowing how to manipulate the data, how to cleanse it without losing data is a valuable skill in data analysis. So I'm not gonna go over like this, the import, how I got this to Excel. So first of all, we are going to use two additional functions, okay, two Excel functions that will help us in getting this data to the format we want for Benford analysis. So now I'm going to delete this link. So my focus will be just on this column. So I'm going to delete these other columns because I don't need these columns for now. I'm just going to focus on these cases. That is the new hospital admission of confirmed COVID-19 past week total. So that's the total that I'm going to focus on. So I use control the minus on the keyboard or command minus to delete columns once you've selected the columns. The first function that we're going to use is the left function, as in left. So we are going to use the left function first. So this left function is a Microsoft Excel function that will help us to bring the desired number or text or letter starting from the left. So if we start from the left, the first number there is number 1, and then the second one number 4. So remember, when we are using the left function, even the space, like if the numbers has space, like for example, like this name has a space in between, that space also counts as a character. So if you're using the left, it will start the count from the left to the right. Then you have the mid function and also the right. But today we are going to use the left because our focus is the first digit. Like I said, Benford law is saying the first digit of every data. So you have the first digit on the first line is number 1. The first digit on line 2 is number 1. The first is also number 1. Then if we go down, like on row 8, the first digit on row 8 is just 4 because there is no other digit. So if we go back, let's go right down to row 35. You can see the first digit is also number 1, the second is number 2, and then the third is number 9. So some software tools will help you calculate both the first, second, and third digits. But today we're going to use the first digit of the Benford law. So what the Benford law is saying that the first digit will be the highest. Like if we count all the number ones, the numbers that start with ones. So you can see this starts with number 2. Benford law is saying number 1 will be the highest in this data set. Number 1 will have the highest frequency, followed by number 2, and then followed by number 3. So let's prove it. That is for a genuine data. In a situation where the data is genuine, number 1 will be the highest frequency, number 2 will be the second highest, until up to number 9. So that's what the Benford law is saying. But let's prove it. So now let's just grab the first. You can use this left function on any situation that works best for you. So what the left function is saying, so from the left we say left and then tab. So we are saying from in this column D, we hold the shift and command and then down arrow to select the entire column with data. And then we hold the function key and press F4 to lock it. And then we say comma. We are saying we're just interested in the first digit, which is number 1. That is 1 mean the first. But since we are interested in the number 1, the first digit, which is the first digit from left, that is if we are counting from left, the first digit from left is what we are interested in. That is we put in number 1 and press enter. So now you can see it has brought in the first digit. You see here when we have the first digit is just 4, it brought us number 4. So situation where you have like other digit, like for example here you can see 28, the first digit is 2. Then here you can see number 1s and here number 9. So that's what the Benford law is saying. So we have used the left So now we are going to copy this and paste value so that if we make any changes to these numbers, it will not affect the formula. So we're going to paste value. So now you see we have pasted values here. Even though we have some errors, we can highlight, and we can just highlight this and then convert to numbers. Okay, so now we've converted this to numbers because previously it was text. So we've just converted this to number. How we know it was text? Because it was left aligned, you see? So all text align left, whereas numbers align to the right. So okay, so we command Y for us to redo. So command Z to undo, that is if you are on Mac, control Z to undo on Windows, and then control Y to redo, or command Y to redo. So now let's count from 1 to 9. Okay, if we just enter our number, if we just put in number 1, and then you can see this cross. So you hold the option key, you can drag the sequence, the series, you see, you can get a series. So now the next one is we need now to calculate we need to know how many times did the 1 occur. You can see 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, in a manual environment, if we want to do it manually, we can add like a filter. We can add a filter here, right? We can say filter. Okay, so once we click filter, we can filter for ones. Okay, this is the long way to do it. So if we filter for ones and then say, okay, let's get the total ones. So you can see ones, we have 880 ones. So just write that somewhere, 880. So we got 880, the total ones. Because we are auditors or accountants, we are going to use formula in order for us to save time, right? Other than just using the filter. So first, let's use the count if. COUNT, count if. The range is saying that is here. We are going to hold shift command and down arrow to select that, and then we say FN and press F4 to make the cells absolute reference. So now we've selected the range, and the next is criteria. What are we looking for? Number 1 is the criteria. So we are saying look in this range, count all the ones. That's what we've just said. So we selected the range and lock it so that when we drag the formula, it won't change. Now the next one they say what is the criteria? We're saying look for 1. So now we have, so let me just change this to numeric. So you see, which is the same as this, right? So we have a total of 880. So it's saying in this data set, ones occur 880 times. Whereas number 2, so we can just drag this. So you see number 2 occurs 648 times. Number 3 occurs 300. So you can see the trend, right? The numbers are decreasing, the totals are decreasing in value. Okay, with the exception of the 9. You see the 9 is kind of higher than the previous number, like the 8. So the number 8 appears 133 times, whereas 9 appears 167. Different, which is a little bit against the Benford law, but we're still saying the numbers are a little bit in line with the Benford law because they are in decrease in order. So now let's calculate the percentage. So first, we all shift. If you are on Mac, on Windows, you can just say Alt equal to get the sum. On Mac, you can hold Shift Command T to get the sum, right? You see? So that's the sum. So now let's calculate the percentage. In this total 3064, we are saying how many percent did 1 comes in, because Benford law told us that 1 has up to 30% of the total. Okay, so even though sometimes the percentage might not be 30%, but 1 should have the highest occurrence. That's what we're saying. So if we say equal, this the 880 divided by the total, and then we lock the total, right? We say fn and lock that total so that we are able to drag the formula down. So now if we convert this in percentage, you can see this is the percentage. One comes 29%, which is almost 30%, right? Okay. So, which is not bad, right? It's very close. And then 2 is 21%, which is almost close to 17.6%. Now, let's plot this in the form of a chart. Once you select the percentage, you say insert, and then you select the chart. Let's just select this simple one. So I'm gonna change this to this just for a better look. So we can just say this is, let me just change this to Benford law. We can make this bold, right? So this is how it looks like. So the only number that goes against the Benford law here is the 9, because after the 4%, the 9 comes, the 9 should have been like 3% or below, but it is above. Okay, then we also have the 5. You see, 5 also came more than the 4, which is also against the Benford law. So this is to tell you that some of these numbers might be manipulated. So once we click the chart, we go to design and then select add element on Mac. So you go to exponent, right? So you can see this is the line. You can see the trend. So you can see based on this, it is clear that these numbers do not conform with the Benford law, right? As you can see, some of the numbers went up and some are down. So it does not conform with the Benford law. That's what we just did. So now let's go to the, you can see here, because the reason why, even though the 9 is not that material, but the issue where we got the issue is this. On the number 4, we got 7%, and then it went up to 8%. There could be manipulation, possibly. Even though Benford law is not like a final, it does not give you like a final result saying these numbers, this is what the error or the manipulation is, but it's just an indication that these numbers may be manipulated. As an auditor, based on this result, we can perform other procedures. Just if we were auditing these numbers, we would have implemented additional tests just to give ourselves some comforts, right? Because we say that these numbers could be possibly manipulated. So now let's use this report. So the GL. So this is financial data. This was just COVID cases. So now let's apply the Benford law on financial data. But we have some data plans in here that we need to do. So first of all, let's just change this to white, and then the color blue. We're going to expand this a little bit, and I would like to see an extra column here. So now let me see. You can see that we have 5,000 on the top, which is the account numbers, but then you see another subtotal 5,100. Okay, we don't need that. We want to like just have a column that have the GL numbers, and then a column that has like just the description. But now we are seeing some blanks. So if we are trying to import this into our software, we might not be able to do that because of these blank rows. Or if we want to use like a pivot table, because of these blanks, the pivot table will not give us like an accurate result because of these blank rows. So to solve that, we need to eliminate these blank rows. So what I normally do is I will hold shift control down, command down arrow, and then keep going down until we go to the last row where we have data. So in this case, this is the last row, right? Where we have data. So now we just go to special. We can say Control G on both Mac or Windows. You say Control G, and now the reference you press special. So we say blanks. We're going to find the blanks, right? So now we say equal to. Once we press the equal to, now go to use the up arrow on your keyboard. Don't click with your mouse. Use the up arrow on your keyboard and select the top. And then hold command on Mac and Windows, hold control and press enter. So you are going to hold both command and enter at the same time. So once you press enter, you see, now we've populated the fields. You see, even though we have 5, right? We have 5,000. So once it got to the 5,000 total, you see the subtotal for 5,000, it jumped to the next one. So this is how you populate the blank rows. So now you can see all the blank rows are gone in this row. So if we just say hold control and down arrow, you can see there is no blank, right? But we want to remove the formulas. So we hold shift command down arrow and then copy and just go to the paste special and then paste values. So now we've removed the formulas. So let's do the same concept on this column. So now on this column, just to save time, I will use this column like this and then select. I can hold control on Mac, G. On Windows, you can also hold control G. We go to special. So now we go to blanks again. You can see it's only select the blanks. So now equal to, use the up arrow on your keyboard. Don't use the mouse. And then hold the command or control and press enter. So you see, we have also populated this. So you can see service revenues. You can see the service revenue totals. Then automobile. So you see, you can see the different totals that we have, the different type of description. So that is to tell you that our formula works well. So you can see the bank charges don't flow through to the conference registration fees. So you see, this is it. So now let's go back and just filter for the blanks. So we know what is common, blanks. So we have blanks in the date column because we don't need these subtotals. When we are using our pivot, we don't need these subtotals and blanks. So we know where there is no date, meaning those blanks don't make any sense. So we are going to select, uncheck the date and then apply the filter. So now you see all the subtotals will be deleted. So now we will just select command down arrow. Okay, sorry. So we'll just select command down arrow and then you hold shift and space bar. So you see you select all the rows, the blank rows, and hold command minus. So now you delete. So now let's go back and unfilter the dates, apply the filter. So now you see, oh, sorry, I think I made a mistake. So I did not, so let me go back, Z. So now let me go to Z and, okay, good. So the reason why we are seeing the reference, because we still have formula here. So let's copy this first and paste as value. So we are going to paste value here. So now let's go back and just use the date column and filter for blanks. So now apply the filters, command down arrow and then shift space bar. So we select command and then the minus. So now we delete, apply the filter. So now you can see we have neat data, right? So this blank check number, we can delete it because we don't need that, right? So you see now we have a data where we'll be able to work, calculate or manipulate or do our data analysis without any issue. So you see how clean is this data now. So we are going to use the left. So the left and select the first row here with data and then hold shift command down arrow. Now we are going to use Fn and press F4 to lock it. So we have just make the cell or the range absolute so that when we are dragging the formula will apply automatically. So now the character that we're interested in is just the first digit, right? So we bracket close, enter. So you see, so now you can see the first digit. These are the first digits, So if we want to format this, we can just use the format painter, and then, so now we are going to calculate the first digit, right? So we have one, and then just select the one, hold option, and then drag it on Mac, drag it. So we can see we have from 1 to 9. We are going to count the total frequency. How many times did number 1 appears in this data set? So we are going to use the count if. So remember, we have the long way, but we are going to use the short way, which is better. So first, let's convert these to value. So we're going to paste this as values. So we paste this as value. So now let's use the formula to calculate, right? Count if. So once we select the range, down arrow, and then press F4 by holding the FN, and then now we select 1. That is the first number. So once we press enter, we see we got like 272, and we drag it down. So we have the number 2 appears 252 times, number 3 appears 140. So if we say shift command T, that is for total, or alt equal on Windows to get the total or the sum. So now once we get a sum, so let's calculate the percentage. So we say equal this first 272 divided by the 993, then we hold FN and F4 just to lock that and press enter. Okay, so once we calculate and then drag it down, or we can just double click. So now let's change this to percentage. You can see we have, this is the occurrence. So let's just plot the graph here by going to insert. Now we are going to look for the recommended chart here. So now let's just add a trend. I'm gonna change this to this, or maybe we can change this to this graph. Okay, I will stay with the previous one, right? So now let's just go back to add chart element, and then select a trend line, select exponential. So you can see these numbers here, they go in line with the Benford law, with the exception of the number 9. Okay, the number 9 here shows that it went a little bit up. You see, number 9 came in 4% instead of 3% or 2, which is not too bad, okay, because the data follows the Benford law. So now, to spot fraud in a fraudulent case where there is significant amount of fraud, let me show you. Let's just manipulate some data and random data, and then use the Benford law to see how the data will look like. So let's click, let's just say in this case, we are just looking at random numbers. Okay, so we are going to use the rand function. Okay, bracket close, times 1000 equal to. So now, because the Benford law most of the time only works on data like that is a little bit larger, like from 500 and above, you can use Benford law on small data set, but it is better on large data set. Okay, so let's just say 1 here. So once we put the 1, we can, sorry, I forgot to hold the option. So we hold option and then drag it to until we get to the 500 and above. So okay, so now we can see this is the totals. So let's just get a random here. So you see, these are the random numbers that we've just generated. Okay, so let's just copy these and paste values so that it does not change, because random numbers keep changing sometimes. So you see, so now let's just get the first digits. Okay, equal left. So now select this range, hold the FN and F4 so you can lock it, and then let's just bring the first digit and boom. So now we got that. copy. So we paste as value also. We're going to paste value. If you are on Windows, to paste value, you can just hold Control Alt V. So you can get the values. Control plus the Alt and then plus the V. So you can get the paste value dialog. So now let's just use the count. So we're going to get the frequency, all option, and just drag it to 9. So now we've got 9, and then just count if. So now we're going to use the count if to count this from how many times, and then just Fn F4, we lock it, and then comma. So once we get a comma and press the first row, so you can see the random, because we manipulated the numbers, we just got random numbers. You can see these are the occurrence. So let's just shift command T or alt equal to get the totals. So now let's just say this divided by this total. We lock the total by using the F4 function key. Now we drag it down. So if we use percentage here, you can see the numbers, the percentages. You see, you have 9, then 12, 11, random. So now let's plot this let's just plot this in SAT. Use this chart. You can see, you see how the chart look like. So if we add a trend line here, let's just add a trend line, exponential trend. You can see how the trend line cut, right? So this is the issue. So you see, this is the issue. So you can see, we can see right now the trend line is straight. You can see some numbers goes down and then others go up. So this is to tell you that. So let me change this to red. So now you can see the dash type. Let me just, so look at this one. Let me just change the trend line here for you. So if I click the format here, okay, so if I change this, let me just show you how the color will look like. Let me just give this trend line red, right? So you can see the trend here is downward sloping. It's saying the 1 is the highest, the second highest is 2, and then the third, 3, fourth, and so on, until when you get to the 9, that's the area where you have like this anomaly. So this is how to use the Benford law. So let me just change this here to, so now you can see, so we can say this is the first digit. So this is how to spot fraud. And if you use the Benford law and this is what you got, this is to tell you that the data has been manipulated. As you can see, because we generated this data, even though we use a computer formula to bring random numbers, you can see it does not go according to the Benford. That is to tell you that the data is manipulated. So this is normally the process I use. Okay, this is one of the process I normally use in audit to come up with, to determine if the data that I'm working on is subject to any manipulation. That's the first step I do in order for me to give myself some comfort to know if I'm dealing with a genuine data or a data that is susceptible to manipulation. So thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like if you like the video. See you in the next video. Thank you.